In today's fashion shoot, I'm going to photograph my subject in the studio and then composite her into an AI background. Hey everybody, Lindsay Adler here. We all know that AI is a controversial topic for so many different reasons. I'm not gonna lie, when I go on the subway here, I see a lot of campaigns that have now been mostly replaced by AI. So I understand why photographers feel threatened by it. But I have seen so much technology change over the years that my approach is not to let it defeat me, but to see how I could use it as a tool. In fact, I want to see how I can use it, especially in my photography, to maybe expand my creative possibilities. And that is exactly what you're going to see today. I'm going to be photographing my subject here in the studio, and then I'm going to composite her into an AI background. But I'm actually going to switch the order of that. I'm going to begin by building the AI background first. And the reason that's important to me is because then I can analyze the environment in that background and determine what type of lighting will allow my subject to realistically appear as if she is in that space. Now, I do want to mention that compositing is not my specialty. I've never composited. It's something completely new to me that I've only been doing in the last year or so because of AI. I just see that I can take anything that's in my head, bring it to life in AI, but then combine it with my photography. So I definitely want to keep the lighting a little bit more simple as well as the compositing. So I'm going to talk about this from my perspective of someone who's a novice as a compositor. But what I'm good at is I'm good at seeing and analyzing light. And so I'm going to use that to my strength. I'm going to use that to my benefit by creating the background first, analyzing the lighting, and then recreating a lighting that will look similar here in the studio. Using AI is one way that I'm trying to keep up with the times and stay on trend. But another way to consider trends is considering the Pantone Color of the Year. So every year Pantone comes out with a color, and this color is meant to represent kind of the fusion of culture and art together. The hue is meant to represent things that you're going to see throughout the year. And so you'll see it in graphic design, interior design, you're going to see it in fashion design. And so this color sets the tone for the year ahead. And so every single year I give myself an assignment at the beginning of the year to shoot it in many different ways. And I've done it with beauty photography, fashion photography, you name it. So this year's 2025 Pantone Color of the Year is Mocha Mousse. And that's the color that our beautiful subject has on here. So what I'm going to try to do is incorporate it into the AI image as well as my subject, and then I'll tweak the hues later on to be more representative of that Pantone color. Let's dive in and create our AI environment. Now, there are several different programs out there that are text-to-image generators, but today I'm going to be using one called Midjourney. Now, there's many different ways I can create the images. I can simply type in words. I could also give it images as references, and then it will take some of the attributes of those images to help me create my own environment. However, what I'm going to do today is I'm only going to be using words. So I've opened up Midjourney here, and you can actually see, as I was thinking about Pantone Color of the Year and I was thinking about this shoot, I did a whole bunch of generations. And by the way, if you want to try this out, there are a certain number of credits that you can do for free in Midjourney. So some of the things you can see that I've mentioned on the side is I'm kind of describing what I want to see in my head. So I have fashion shoot, Vogue, inspired by Tim Walker, wide angle, brown, vanishing point. Like, I'm describing all the attributes that I want to see in the final image. And so I generated probably, I want to say, around 25 to 30 different environments, looking for just the right one. The right one would not only match my subject's clothing, also the Pantone Color of the Year, but because I'm a novice compositor, I was looking for things where I felt like I could recreate similar lighting. So here's where I started to get some things that I really, really love. Let me read you the prompt that I gave this program. It was fashion editorial set design, brown, inspired by Tim Walker, a favorite photographer of mine, sand, rounded surface, production movie still. And I said the production movie still because sometimes it gives you something that's a little bit more photorealistic in its quality. And so I got some beautiful generations like this. Now I wanted to show you over on the right-hand side here. Once I get an image, I can make some adjustments. I can pan up or pan down, left to right. What it does is it expands the frame. So if I want to see more of the arch above the subject in this example, or I want to see more of the ground, or I want to see more of the environment to the left, I can actually add to this. If there's something that I want to remove from the scene, I can use the editor to remove that. I can also vary it to see slight tweaks. I can either do it subtly or do a strong adjustment. And then last but not least, I can upscale. Now, when you upscale, you are giving yourself a higher resolution. So let me pick one of these environments. I think I'm going to pick this one, and I am going to upscale it, and I'm going to do it subtly. Sometimes if you upscale creatively, it makes too many adjustments. So I'm going to hit subtle. Now, obviously in this example, there is a person in the middle there that I'm going to have to remove. Now, when I was prompting early on, I was talking about set design, no people. I was trying to keep it really clean, but I wasn't getting the results that I was looking for. When it comes to text to image generation, sometimes just a slight variation in the prompt will totally change the result. And I found that allowing it to have a person gave me things that was closer to looking like fashion editorials. So I know that I'm going to have to remove this, which means to create this environment, it's actually going to be 2 steps of AI controls. It's going to be using Midjourney, and then I'm going to pop over into Photoshop and then generative fill, remove the subject. All right, so I've upscaled my image, which gave me the higher resolution here. I'm going to download it and open it up in Photoshop. I've opened this up in Photoshop, and I just want to tell you a little bit about the resolution I'm working with. Right now, I'm working with 1920 by 2400 pixels. So it is not a huge file, but it's also not really tiny. What I can do is I can upsize this before I composite in my subject. But guess what? That means I might work with another AI tool. If you haven't tried Topaz AI, they have a capability to upscale, to increase the resolution of your photos. When I am working with AI and compositing it into my high resolution camera images, I'm shooting with 50 megapixels on my Canon R5 Mark II, sometimes it can become beneficial for me to increase the resolution of the AI that I'm working with because it is working with only about 2000 pixels in this instance. Okay, so now that I'm here in Photoshop, I don't really want that subject standing in the middle anymore. So I'm going to grab my lasso tool, and I'm going to select her, and I'm also going to get rid of her shadow. So I'm making this selection all the way around her. And then when I've used my lasso tool, it actually prompts me at the bottom and automatically brings up generative fill. I'm going to click on that and hit generate, and I'm not going to give it any prompts. I'm going to tell it basically in this instance, this thing I selected, it's not right, it shouldn't be there. It's going to know that, and then it's going to give me some variations having removed that distraction. It'll actually give me 3 different variations. So here's 1, here's 2, and here's 3. If I'm not happy with those, I can hit generate again to give me some more options. And what's nice, in the newer versions of Photoshop, I can actually tell it which one of these variations was closest to what I liked, and maybe say that one was close, show me more variations that are similar to that one. So I'm really happy with this. So I am going to flatten that image, and this is going to be what I use as my reference point for lighting my subject. All right, so let's do a little bit of analysis of this image. There is a large, bright, and very soft light source back to the left-hand side of the frame. It's almost directly behind, it's just slightly to the left, and you can see that because you can see the highlights on the top of these floating orbs. And so they're pretty much top down a little bit more to the left. So I know that I'm going to want to use a soft light source in the studio, top down, slightly to the left. And you can kind of see that this is what's going to be going on in this shot. Secondarily, what I'm noticing is that the shadows are not dark. That light source is bouncing around this space and filling in the shadows. So I too want to make sure there's detail on all of my shadows, and my fill light or my fill to the subject should be very, very soft. It should not be directional or specular. And that's about it. That's all I really have to worry about when I light my subject. The rest of it is going to come in the compositing part. So now it's time to light and photograph the subject, and then we'll come back into Photoshop later on. The dominant light source in our AI image was that soft top-down light. You can see to the top left-hand side of the frame, we are using a large umbrella with diffusion to help simulate the appearance of the light that we saw. So let me take our very first shot and see how it's fitting the vibe of that image. Now, if I'm shooting this for real, for a fashion editorial, I would constantly be switching back and forth between the AI image and what I'm capturing to see if those two fit together. So we have that very soft, bright light source, top down, and when the subject lifts her head, it's a beautiful quality of light on the face. So I definitely am getting approximately the right vibe. Now, what I could do to change the position of that light is I could move my subject more underneath the light if I want it to wrap around her face more. If I want it to be more of a back or side light, I can move her closer towards the camera, and that's going to light her more from behind. So even just small adjustments in my subject will change the position of the light on the face. Now, when I look back at this image, there's something else that doesn't quite match what I was seeing in the AI scene, and that is the bounce in the space. The shadows on the front of the outfit are just a little bit too dark and wouldn't quite make sense in the final composite because that bright light was bouncing all around the scene. And for that reason, I want to add some V-flats to control and bounce that light back to the subject. So I'm going to have the white side of the V-flat facing her, and that will simulate and give us the feel of the white and light walls that were in that scene. So when you compare these two shots, there is a lot more fill on her outfit now. And so I'd have to decide if I think it's too bright, or if I try compositing it and it's too bright, I can always move these V-flats a little bit further away. For this shoot, I am using the Canon R5 Mark II and the RF 24-105 2.8 lens. This is going to give me some flexibility. Now, I do need to pay attention if I'm compositing something to the perspective. Is the shot that I'm compositing into wide angle? Is the camera angle that was created for that Midjourney scene, was it shot at a low angle or higher angle? Was it closer up? I have to consider those things when I choose my focal length, as well as my height when photographing my subject. So if I go back to the original image in AI, it looks like it's wide angle, but it's not super distorted. And the camera angle isn't very dramatic. It's not like the subject is super low or super high, so it's not a really unusual angle. So I'm going to photograph Molly the same way as I normally would. Now that I have lighting that I think looks good and fits the scene, I need to photograph my subject. I'm going to try some different poses and give myself a little bit of flexibility of what to work with. I will slightly vary my camera angle just to make sure that I have everything covered. And if this is a real shoot, what I would do is I'd shoot for a bit, I'd pick my favorite shot and then test it in the scene before moving on to another look or wrapping my model. So let me get the shot of her. So now that I have a little variation to the pose and to the expression, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to the compositing stage. So let's take a look in Photoshop and see if we can combine the image and the environment and make them work together. My goal right now is not to make the final composited image. It is not to make sure it's perfect. It's to check and make sure before I wrap my subject that everything is working. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick a photo from what I've shot recently. Pick one, maybe one or two poses, something that looks representative. I think one of these is pretty. I'm going to export that as a JPEG, and I'm going to bring it into Photoshop. So I'm opening this image, I'm dragging and dropping it onto my AI background, and what I'm going to try to do is get an approximate size. I can make this a smart object if I am going to be doing a lot of scaling up and down. Now, obviously, we still have to worry about the background. And I did want to make a note about our background choice. Rather than shooting on gray or white, we actually shot on a warmer color. And the reason we chose that is I knew I was going to be bouncing a lot of light. And when that light bounces, it might also bounce off of the background a little bit, meaning the fill light would be a little bit warmer. And when I looked at the AI environment, the fill was a little bit warmer in hue. So it made sense to me to shoot on a warm background. But we picked a background that was different enough from her outfit that she could still easily be cut out. So for example, here in Photoshop, I'm going to click Select Subject. It selects her, and I'm going to hit Command J. So what that did is it copied and pasted her into a new layer, all cut out. Now I'm going to use my Move tool, and I'm going to kind of move her around in the space until she looks approximately the right size. I think there's pretty good. One of the things you'll notice is that I am breaking a traditional rule of cropping. I'm cropping off her feet. In fact, I'm cropping at the ankles even. And the reason I'm doing this is I told you that compositing is not my specialty, and it is much harder to realistically composite someone into the background when you can see their feet. Perspective becomes more important, Plus, you have to pay very close attention to the shadows that are being cast on the ground. So this is actually a way to save me. And regularly what I'll do for something like this is I'll crop in a little bit more from the bottom so that I don't have to worry about this part of the equation. Okay, so as I look at this, some of the things that I want to check is, first of all, does the light match? Well, I'm looking at the highlight on the top of her forehead and the highlight on the orb behind her, and they match perfectly. The amount of fill is looking really nice. So far, so good. But then I am looking at two other major things. One would be color and the other would be contrast. In order for this to be a realistic composite, those two need to be similar. So I like the color on her. It's much closer to that Mocha Mousse, whereas the background is way too orange. So I'm specifically going to grab an adjustment layer just to tweak the background. I'm going to see if I can get it closer in hue and saturation. So I'm going to majorly desaturate because that's closer to what her skin tone is looking like. And we're going to try to get it close. So that, I think, is a good place to start. So now I'm looking at her and I think she has a little bit more contrast in the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add more contrast to the background specifically and then take away a little bit of her contrast. I'm going to do this with a curves adjustment layer. That actually matches a lot better just by adding contrast to the AI environment. And then let's adjust her. And I might just like lift up the shadows a little bit on her. Okay, now overall, let me desaturate the photo a tiny bit more. Oof, it's already looking gorgeous. So one more trick that I have found that helps really honestly trick the eye is doing a color grade on top of everything. You get it close as possible. Then if I do a color grade on the top, what I can do is I can add, let's say I'm going to add a magenta to the shadows. Well, then there'd be magenta to the shadows on the subject and the environment, which makes it look like they were shot together. So let me just give it a try. I'm going to grab an adjustment layer and grab selective color. Then I'm going to go into the neutrals and maybe I'll add a little more red, a little yellow. We're going to that Mocha Mousse. We'll go into the shadows, add a tad bit more. Let's try that magenta. More red there, not too many shadows. So I'm just trying to dial it in so that they look even more like they match. I think something like that is looking really, really beautiful. So let's take a look at the elements. Here's when I just added her. And this is once I made all of my tweaks. It's looking a lot closer. So this is not the final product. There's some things I may want to change in the background. There may be some final adjustments, but this is how I would check and make sure I'm capturing in camera what I need in order to complete my composite. That's given you a little bit of an insight into my creative process of combining AI and images that I take in a fashion shoot. I'm really trying to treat this as a way to expand my creative horizons rather than feeling like it's just competing with me or defeating me or affecting my future. Let's affect it in a positive way. So I will go into Midjourney, and if I'm bored, just try to create an environment that inspires me and see if I can then create a fashion shoot to make use of that environment. If you guys want to see the gear used to make these images, be sure to check out the links in the description below, and of course, visit Adorama.com. And if you want to see this creative process, my thought process, how I plan shoots, how I bring it together, you'll definitely want to check out my monthly subscription platform, Learn Plus. I have a different theme every month, and I have definitely been trying more of these AI composites. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.